Hey everyone, I'm Reagan Weiss along with
Joey Deeb, co-founders
of The Hub.
I'd just like to start off by prefacing this by saying it's not just us. It's all of our core members of this group that made this. We have a lot of people that have worked hard, put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. Can't mention all of them because there's so many, but we love you all.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for every single one of you, and you know who you are, to be involved with this. And a lot of people are asking, why? Why The Hub? Let me tell you why The Hub. The Hub is a place that not just business owners are going to collaborate. It's where our community members are going to collaborate, where ideas are bounced off of one another. We just want to help people. We want to be there. We want to unify not just our businesses, but we want to unify our community. We don't want to hear about the negativity. We don't want to hear. There are so many other places out there that you could hear about the negativity in our community, and this will not be the place.
Our group can be a basis for so many different resources for so many different trades and industries. It's not just isolated to one specific trade or construction or cleaning or any of that. Everybody can come to the Hub to get actual references from real people using these business and utilizing them to see what kind of experiences they've had.
Now, the key word is collaboration, right? And you see that a lot lately, like collaboration. Well, it really is about collaboration. If I didn't know to collaborate with my friends behind the camera, Jordan Long, if I didn't know how to collaborate with all these other people, all these individuals involved, you wouldn't know about us because of those people. Strength are in numbers. So just like Joey said, it's every industry. We want to hear from how your experiences were with your restaurants. We want to hear your cleaning people, your contractors, your roofing companies. I mean, every industry out there, your masseuses, your salon. We want to hear real experiences from real people. And one more thing, very, very important, we're not going to allow networking. When we say networking, I just want to be very specific on this. And people say, oh, well, you're kind of pushing people away. No, we're not, because there are specific network groups that post and tag people without ever utilizing their business. And we don't want that. We want real experiences.
You're not forced to recommend somebody simply because you're in the same group.
Right.
And that's what we want. And it's not just about business either.
Right.
It's about charity and giving. We want a local hub for events to help people.
We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. Look for Hub ads on the radio. Look for the Hub bus on the Pasco County Public Transportation System. Look in Facebook and please share this, and let's grow this positive thinking, forward momentum community. We love you, Tampa Bay.
Join the Hub and grow with us.
See you soon.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football. But, of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football. Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart. Man, she's so precious. I love her to death.
Yeah, but there are no guarantees on any of these players. There's no guarantee that it's a 50%. So there's no guarantee. You want to make sure that that you're doing all the work that you can. I love information at this point. Managing risk. I think you and I have talked about that in the past, and bringing in a player that you have as much confidence as possible in. So there's no guarantee that a player is going to come in and be defensive rookie of the year or offensive rookie of the year.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show on a happy
Hump Day?
Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Denis Phillips of ABC Action News talking what else? We're 8 days away, ladies and gentlemen, from the NFL draft, so I got a sneaking suspicion that not only will we be talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but also the draft around the National Football League. One day, another day goes by, and another wide receiver possibly on the trade block. After that, we may also have J.C. Allen of Pewter Report on, giving us the latest about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going into that press conference from Jason Light. I don't know what you could take out of it, but there's some things in there that are very interesting, to say the least. Now, I'm not going to come on this show and act like, Jason Light is not trying to play a good poker game, because we know Jason Light. So some of the things you can go through and see what he's saying, and we can go ahead and talk about it. We'll have Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports, along with Will Lewis, Jason Rubin, giving you an AFC East preview. And then after that, we'll have Mark Mancini, Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio, and then your phone calls. I've been kind of disappointed. I got to be honest. We give you an opportunity every night to get on the phone lines and call up and talk about what you want to talk about. And I think I'm pretty open to it. A lot of people say, well, you just talk about the Bucs. Not true. We talk about your Tampa Bay Lightning. We talk about your Tampa Bay Rays. Heck, we even talk about the Tampa Bay Bandits. Congratulations on their first win. 17-3 over the Pittsburgh Maulers. And by the way, the incident that came out of that game, we can also talk about and see if you're still interested in the league, even though the first night was a resounding success, if you will, with the 3 to 3.5 million viewers. And then after that, it kind of tailed off. So we'll see if it survives, but I think it's good for everybody. Last check on the Tampa Bay Rays game, if you're watching that game, 8-2 Rays over the Chicago Cubs. Gotta love that. Lightning lose last night. Oh, by the way, because I'm with Amped Up Sports with Leo Haggerty, we'll be covering the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow night versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. We may also be at a USF function. So things getting busier and busier here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let me give out the phone number. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. And I don't care what guest is on. Be respectful of the guest. If you want to call in, if you got a question, you can do it. Text in if you like to. But, let's not hear crickets tonight. I just ain't going for it, man. I'm just not doing it. All right, I'll tell you what. let's go ahead and go out to this guy. Let's get his walk-up music on, or his walk-up sound. Here we go. All right, that tornado siren that you're hearing is Mr. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, meteorologist. And we started it out here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the NFL draft just 8 days away. But let's talk about those Tampa Bay Rays. A little bit of a struggle there. Your thoughts, 6-6, but now taking care of business versus the Cubs. Welcome to the Evolution.
Hey, how's it going, Peter?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Yeah, you know what? It always makes me laugh in April when people start worrying about what a professional baseball team is gonna do. I mean, there is the old adage: you can't win a pennant in April, but you can lose one. A team that's at 500 isn't going to be losing a pennant. I mean, it's such a long season that it just gives. I mean, I get it. Sports fans are looking for something to whine about or complain about or worry about. And there's really nothing to worry about. I mean, the same question marks we have now, we've had since day one. Do they have the pitching depth? Do they have the starting pitching depth? And, everything else is working out fine. Their offense hasn't been terrible. I mean, Wander Franco is hitting over 400. Josh Lowe had a couple of hits today. He's a young guy, so obviously he's not going to replicate Austin Meadows' number. But at the end of the day, the team's been they've been hitting the ball fine. It's early. I never understand the people who are, oh my God, they should be doing better than this. There's, whatever. They're 6-6, or it's April. Come on.
It's April, and
it's snowing. It's snowing in Chicago, and we're worried about some people are worried about this team isn't performing as well as they should be. Give me a break.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not one of those people that says it's going to be a long season. I mean, you give it at least 2 months unless you get off to an unbelievably awful start. And we've seen that before in Rays history, and they're able to rebound. So your thoughts? I mean, Wander really heating it up. I mean, there's a reason why they signed this young kid. I mean, he's just phenomenal. And I feel like he hasn't hit that glass ceiling yet. I mean, talk about how good this kid really is.
Yeah. I mean, he was part of their international signees years ago. I mean, the kid, they knew about him when he was a teenager. Like, we're talking 14. And he has so far lived up to the expectations. Now, again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't believe he can win Rookie of the Year this year. I may be wrong, but I thought I remember seeing somewhere that he could not win Rookie of the Year because he had too many ABs last year. Mm-hmm. But I had my doubts. I mean, how many times do you hear a prospect that can't miss that misses? I'm not just with the Rays, with anybody. I mean, right. Baseball is that sport. Basketball, usually the hot prospects are going to end up being solid ball players. Football, same thing. Usually those top draft picks are usually guys who are going to perform. You get number one draft choices all the time in baseball that don't even make it to the show outside of a couple of months, and they just never do anything. So you never know. But so far, and again, the league has to find out what his weaknesses are, and then the pitching staffs, they make adjustments, and then it's going to be up to him to make adjustments. But so far, he's been solid. I mean, the guy's got everything. I mean, he is that 5-tool player. I mean, he really is.
He really is. I tell you what, let's say hi to the webheads here. Let's not neglect them, Dennis, shall we? Roger Shue says, what's up, webheads? Let me go ahead and fire the cannon. That right there. Our favorite viewer, as always, Mr. Consistent himself, trolling at 1,000. See you at Duckies for the draft. Fake news. No, you won't. Troy Polamalu, Rays. Yes, we're talking Rays. Bandits stink. Bucks rule. Let's see. Roger Shue, go Bandits. The Rays stink. Roger Shue starting off on the wrong foot.
No, I mean, the Rays don't stink. I mean, anybody who says the Rays stink's a moron.
Well, that's a Cubs fan right there. That is a.
The Rays don't stink. Right. I mean, you may not like the Rays. You may not like them, but they don't stink. No, and any person who calls himself a sports fan, right? Who calls themselves a sports fan and says that a team stinks just because they don't like them, doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. I mean, they might not like the team. I get that. I feel that way about the Raiders, and I feel that way about the Steelers, and sometimes the Cowboys. I mean, I may not like them, but I'm never going to be, oh, they're just a lousy team. Now, do you know sports or do you not know sports? Clearly, you don't know sports.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Give it to Roger Shu. That's what you get, Roger. All right, let's go out to Sandra Navy here. My beautiful mother, former, it's going to be future agent here, the way she promotes the show and me, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web, with Amped Up Sports, Bet US. I love St. Pete, the hub. Appreciate you, Roger Shu. I agree with Dennis. Do you now? Because he just absolutely crushed you, Roger Shu, with your comments. Do you guys want to join me? I'm filing a lawsuit against USF for false representation because they are not from South Florida. They are not even from South Tampa. I don't know what you're saying at this point. I go out to these comments, and this is what you get. I'm with you, Troy. Let's call Morgan. And Morgan, Troy, again, yeah, we got some good lawyers in Tampa. I'll let you keep 15% of the money. We win 60-40, says Roger Shu. Listen to you guys. And Troy says Little League Baseball is more interesting than grown man baseball. And this is what you get. Real question. Yes.
Little League Baseball is pretty awesome. I've got 6 kids, and every one of them has played baseball. And I'm at the baseball field every weekend, so I get it. And by the way, just looking at the standings, Boston 6-5, the Yankees 6-5, Toronto 6-5, the Rays 6-6. So 4 of the top 5 teams in the AL East are within a half a game of each other. So, and by the way, in the Central, the White Sox and the Indians, the Guardians, are also 6-5, and in the West, 6-5, 6-5, 7-5, 7-5. So I mean, there is so much parity going on right now to start the season. Nobody is necessarily doing better than anybody else. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd like your team to start out 10-3, but it's April. It's snowing in Chicago. The Rays are fine.
I agree. All right, tell you what, we go on to a question here. David Moser says, question for you and Dennis. Now that Leonard Fournette's signing a 3-year deal, do you think we take a running back in this draft? This has been talked about. Of course, Jason Light, what is he going to say? No, we're not going to take a running back. There has been some interest there in Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M, Pierce from Florida. I mean, what do you say? Do you take a running back in the middle rounds, in your opinion? Do you feel like the Bucs should take a running back or run with what they have, namely a Leonard Fournette, Giovanni Bernard, and, of course, a Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah, I mean, there's a most everybody out there right now is smarter than me when it comes to drafting, what they should take, what they shouldn't take. I've never really been very good in the NFL draft at trying to figure out who's going to be the best player in the overall. I mean, you got some shoe-ins from time to time, but when you're drafting as far down as the Bucs are, a lot of times go back and look at some of the best wide receivers the last couple of years. Those were the second and the third rounds, with Deebo Samuel and with Terry McLaurin out of Washington. I mean, sometimes it isn't all about the first round picks, but honestly, I mean, I've been hearing all sorts of things, and I think that's what makes the draft so fun, because nobody has a clue. I mean, Mel Kiper, he's always got his list and everything, and he's going to be usually pretty good, but at the end of the day, we're always going to have somebody that's going to keep falling down the draft board, and everybody just gets a kick out of that because you get guys that you think they're going to go top 5 and they barely hang in there in the end of the first round. So I'm looking forward to it. I would say, in my opinion, Leonard Fournette, I love the guy, but he has a history of having injury issues. And if the Bucs don't have any depth at running back, why not? I mean, are they just going to go best available? I mean, a lot of people have been asking about my Penn State boy, Dotson, wide receiver. Guy runs great routes. I mean, I know him well. Runs great routes, great hands, really fast. I wonder about durability with him. So there's always question marks, and that's kind of what makes it really fun, right?
Yeah, it really is, Dennis. And look, you can always have an opinion on this show, and you don't necessarily always have to be right. Heck, I'm barely right, and I have a show here. We're on with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, meteorologist, but on this show, a sports broadcaster. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Open phone lines if you have a question for me or Dennis, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me go out to Christopher Cole. Hey, guys, what's up, everyone? Roger says, love you, Dennis. You're my favorite weatherman on TV. Now, after saying the Rays stink, that's what happened to you, Roger. On breaking news, Fox 13, Troy suing USF for false representation. I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, I think you're actually full of it. Now, I tell you what, really quick, let's go out to Jason Light and his thoughts on Tom Brady when he was asked about it. And I'll get your thoughts. I know we've kind of beat this dead horse, but Jason Light talking about Tom Brady the other day here on the evolution of sports talk television. Here we go.
We haven't had those discussions. So all the only discussions I've had that we've had with Tom is when he came back, and we're excited about this year and we're excited to get going. Make of it is chatter, just like you said. So we're focused on putting our team together here with the draft, and we're all excited. We're all in lockstep here. Tom, Todd, myself, Byron, entire coaching staff on this season.
A little bit surprised from those comments, and we're back here from Light about not really having any contact or any contract details. I mean, essentially what he's saying is most likely this is the last year for Tom Brady unless they have something after the draft. I mean, I don't know. I kind of get the sense that either Brady wants to be a free agent next year, he wants to go and be a minority owner for the Dolphins or somebody else. And he was even asked about, possibly being, somewhat of an owner for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Light said, we haven't talked about it. So kind of surprised by Light's comments there.
No, because everybody's talking about it. I mean, Tom Brady will be 46 years old for next season if he were to play somewhere else. He turns 45 in August. So all of a sudden, and again, he hasn't shown a drop, but I mean, at some point, right, the hands of time have got to catch up. At some point, it's got to happen. So I don't really think anybody should really worry too much about a 46-year-old quarterback in the NFL. I mean, you never know. He's obviously been one for the ages, but I think, we were talking a lot about the whole Dolphins thing. I think a lot of people who are in the know, and clearly that's not me, but I think a lot of people who are in the know think that there's a lot to this story at some point. I mean, the whole Brian Flores thing. I mean, I believe him personally. Me, just after reading what I've read about, the unknown quarterback, about all the things that Brian Flores is claiming, I kind of believe the guy, and I kind of believe that that's probably what was going to happen. But it's tampering, because if that happened the way that he said it did, then at that point you have a contracted quarterback who was under contract with the Patriots and was talking with the Dolphins, and that's tampering. So, at the end of the day, do I think it happened? I kind of do. But does that matter now? Nope. Doesn't matter to us. And if he's man enough at 46 years old to go down there and be a starting quarterback for the Dolphins, I say more power to the guy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense with that Dolphins franchise, although you look at the outside targets with, of course, a Tyreek Hill, a Jalen Waddle, but you're going to have to face New England twice a year. You're going to have to face the Bills. I mean, that's a much tougher division, and we're going to actually talk about that tonight with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, and Night Sports Productions guys, and Will Lewis and Jason Rubin, give you a little preview there. But to me, that division is much tougher than the NFC South. And if he did want to play an extra year, which we don't know. We don't know if he wants to play or not. We don't know if the Bucs are going to get something done. I just found it kind of, I won't say depressing, but I'll say surprising, if you will, that Light and Brady haven't been in contact to try to get some type of contract done. Brady had this to say also about him coming back. I knew my body physically could still do what it could do, and obviously I have a love for the game. I think I'll always have a love for the game. I do think physically I'm able to do it. I just felt like there was still a place for me on the field. He also says, at the end of the day, I just love the competition on the field. He's trying to promote his Brady brand, and Brady brand, God goodness. And last year was a very bitter ending to the season. Of course, that came back to his comments when he came back, unfinished business. So very interesting in itself. You really don't get anything more than just a bitter taste in their mouth. And I'm really surprised that the players are still thinking about that loss to the Rams in the divisional playoff game. Are you?
Sure. I mean, that's kind of what we're here for, right? We're thinking about the season, not the what ifs, not the what could have been, not what almost happened, but the fact that he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucs this year. And I don't think anybody thinks that's not going to be the case, no matter what could have happened or should have happened or might have happened. But personally, I mean, the draft is right around the corner, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also very intrigued by the match, the golf tournament coming up on June 1, with Brady and Aaron Rodgers against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I think, and a lot of the times I could care less about that, but I think that's pretty awesome that Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to be on the same pairing against Brady and Rodgers. And for some reason, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And normally I don't get caught up in that, but I think that's going to be a blast.
And already Brady was talking trash to Josh Allen, which is interesting in itself, of course, because, he's the heir apparent in that AFC East to take over with the Buffalo Bills if everything works itself out. And you know how talented Allen is. So it's kind of interesting, right? You have Brady and Rodgers, the two old guys versus the two young and up and comers. So that's must-see TV for you. I mean, good job to TNT and the match for promoting this. I'm not a golf fan, but I'm definitely going to have to watch this.
Yeah. I mean, June 1st, 6:30 on TNT. You're right. And by the way, if you remember, was it last year or a year before? It's all a blur. Sure. When Brady was paired with, was it
Koepka or is it Fred? Who was it?
I know he was up against Manning and Manning beat him, but I think it was, no, it wasn't it. Oh my gosh. Lefty.
Fred Couples?
Lefty. No, Lefty.
Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, Mickelson. I thought he was paired with Mickelson. I might be wrong. But anyway, if you remember watching that, Brady did not play well. He played pretty terrible, except for that one shot that he had that he holed it out from like 180 or something like that. Yeah. I mean, so you would have to say, I have no idea if Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen are any good at golfing or not. But based on seeing Tom Brady on the golf course on that particular day, he was completely outclassed by Peyton Manning and obviously by the pros. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is a good golfer anyway. Normally, again, I don't get caught up in these kind of competitions, but for some reason, I think that's going to be really entertaining. And it's only like 5-6 weeks out. So it's right around the corner. And it's in Vegas, which is another great thing.
Absolutely. And I believe he busted his pants that day too, which was funny. It's a meme in itself. We're on with Denis Phillips. Let's go out to Pig Dog here. Video 2001. Peter and Denis, how long can the Rays stay with Zunino? I know it's only been 2 weeks, but he looked so lost at the plate. And look, he had a career year with hitting home runs, but at the end of the day, he's a free swinger. He strikes out a lot. Mejia right now, 2 or 3 hits and 3 RBIs? I mean, he's really showing out. So, Zunino, I get it defensively, framing, everything like that, but do you think they could move to Mejia eventually?
I don't.
Okay.
I think Zunino is a notorious slow starter as it is. You're right. He either hits home runs or strikes out. I mean, that's just the guy that he's been for a long time. You're playing. Look, he played in Chicago and it was 40 degrees. They're playing in Chicago and it's snowing. When they were playing the White Sox when it was cold. There's a lot of guys who just do not play well in cold weather. And I get it. They had some games at home at the Trop as well. The preseason was not a regular preseason. It wasn't the regular kind of spring training like they usually did. Baseball players are very, very much creatures of habit. So I just think it's far too early. You're right. Mejia has started from day one. I mean, he's been hitting literally from the beginning of the season. But you got to figure eventually Zunino's going to come around and, end up hitting about 240 and probably hitting 25 to 30 homers. I just think that's kind of the numbers that he's in for. And I think he will be the guy. How he handles that pitching staff, you're right, is huge because you've got a lot of inexperienced starters. Mm-hmm. I mean, when our number one starter is somebody that most folks who are even our baseball fans have never heard of, and that's our number one, you need a catcher who's really going to be able to handle those pitchers well. And I think Zunino is that guy.
I think you're right about that. And again, the framing job, that's what the Rays like. They don't necessarily need an offensive catcher. They would like to hit for contact and drive some runs in. But at the end of the day, it's about defense. It's about handling the pitching staff. And once again, framing. I tell you what, we're jumping around.
And he's a Gator.
Yes.
And he is a Gator.
Well, there you go. And that always works out to their favor with Gator fans out there. Let's go out to Jason Light and his thought process on defensive tackle, because I think this is actually where they may draft at 27. Here's Jason Light here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Stand by.
We obviously think very highly of Vita, Will. We think Nacho's a very good player. Excuse me. And we've got some good young guys that we've had in here that we feel pretty good about, have a chance to ascend and get better. So, yeah, you always want to upgrade your trenches. It's a position that we'll continue to look for, but we've had the draft. We have a period after the draft. There's still trade deadlines, not for months and months away. So there's different avenues and different paths that we can take to upgrade there and upgrade our depth and get more players in there.
That's interesting in itself. And look, he kind of gave it away. We may not necessarily have to draft somebody, but in your opinion, is that the biggest need on this team right now with no Sue, of course, in the fold and no Steve McClendon?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of folks who are talking about maybe Georgia, Devontae Wyatt, if he were to drop down. You would certainly think so. And I've not really heard anything lately about Sue. I mean, has there been any status on that?
Well, I mean, there was talk that he's actually visiting the New England Patriots. So, yeah. I mean, is he willing to play? I think it comes down to, at the end of the day, Dennis, he wants to get paid. He wants to get paid $6 to $7 million. And you have to think, with his production, 6 sacks, he's still playing at somewhat of a high level. But it's like you said about Father Time. It's undefeated. He's 35 years old. You feel like, look, if you have an opportunity to get a Wyatt, and there's red flags out there with him because scouts are going back, and there's even some talk of general managers taking him off the board because of the domestic stuff in the past. But if there's a possibility to get a Wyatt out of Georgia, possibly a Jordan Davis, to me, Davis doesn't really fit. They want to get somebody other than a Vita Vea. So a Wyatt or Logan Hall out of Houston seems like the move. But I will give you this. I will tell you this. I think there's another position here that the Bucs need to look at. And here's what Jason Light had to say about it. And we'll see. We'll come back here and see if you agree. Here we go.
Of course, you've seen the premium this offseason, what teams are putting on receivers. And we brought in Russell Gage, and we're excited, but Russell can add to our team. We've had some pretty good success with receivers here, developing them, taking the right ones, and that's a tribute to our staffs working together there. So, and the coaching, obviously. So it's always a position that you'll look at.
Okay. So always a position you'll look at. And I look at it this way, Dennis. If you know that Tom Brady, it's his last year, you're going to win it all. You also know Chris Godwin. And this came out yesterday from Booger McFarland on 620 AM 95.3 FM. He said that he doesn't expect Chris Godwin to play until Thanksgiving. Our own Leo Haggerty says October. So if you know that, at the end of the day, basically you only have Mike Evans, you have Russell Gage. Now, I'm not saying they can't go out there and get a Julio Jones in free agency or something like that. But if you have an opportunity to get a Dotson, if you have an opportunity to get a Treylon Burks, could that be the player simply because not only are you getting older at that position, but also there's a lot of uncertainty, especially with the Godwin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Penn State grad, so obviously love Godwin and love Dotson. I've watched every Penn State game for decades, and Dotson is the real deal. He is. I'm not 100% sold on his durability yet, but the guy has great hands. He's a great route runner, and I would think Brady, that would be a match made in heaven. And again, I mean, starting off as a rookie, you never know. I mean, who was it who last preseason could not catch a ball and was dropping down everybody's draft charts and fantasy? Oh, that's right, Jamar Chase. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he turned into what Jamar Chase thought he would, what we thought he would end up being. So rookie receivers can certainly show up. Dotson is the kind of guy that I think would be a great addition, but I admit it, I'm totally biased being a Penn State grad, but the guy is really good.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some good wide receivers in there, and that's the component that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't have. They don't have that speed threat. Final question, and we'll get you out of here for the night, Dennis. Once again, thanks a lot for the time. We're getting on to Leo Haggerty and Night Sports Productions here in just a little bit, breaking down the AFC East and other news. But Deebo Samuel, how surprised are you that he's now on the trading block asking the 49ers for a trade? The betting favorite is the New York Jets, possibly the Green Bay Packers. First, how surprised are you that he's on the trading block? And second, who do you think he gets traded to? Does it happen on draft night?
Well, first of all, he's on the trading block because he asked to be on the trading block. I mean, and because if I had him on my fantasy team last year, the guy was insane. And they really used him a lot. So it isn't like he went to a team that he wasn't getting the ball, like maybe another receiver that we might have seen in the past with the Bucs. He got the ball. He got the ball as a running back. he got the ball as a wide receiver. He got the ball. So and he's awesome. I mean, he's clearly awesome. But why would he want to go to the New York Jets? Why would anyone want to go to the New York Jets? I mean, and I don't mean that because New York fans are passionate about their team, and I'm sure they would be great. But all you got to do is look at the last 10 years. There's been nobody out of that franchise that has turned into anything worthwhile. And you just have to look at history and say, okay, well, maybe I'm the guy to turn the corner. Maybe he will be. But man, why would you not want to go to, maybe the best quarterback in the history of football to be throwing you the ball without a Devontae Adams there anymore? So now maybe he didn't like cold weather. I mean, and that's a thing. I mean, that really is something I would think people, if you're a professional athlete and you don't like cold weather and you don't think you perform in cold weather, then you probably don't want to go to Green Bay. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Why would somebody want, I don't mean disrespect for Jets. I really don't. But if you're a player and you want to win or you want to be put in a position to excel, why would you go to the Jets? Because it just hasn't happened. Maybe at some point it will, but it hasn't in a long, long time.
Well, a lot of people are saying as the head coach there, Robert Saleh used to be the defensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is familiar with him. And then on top of it, the Jets have the picks, which means they have the draft capital. And also they may overpay, which, they're going to have to overpay. You look at the wide receiving market right now, $20 to $23 million. That's what Debo wants. I can't see John Lynch trading him to anybody in the NFC, because if you do, you're going to have to face the consequences during the season. He's going to get traded to the AFC. And to me, I would not be surprised if it's the Jets or the Titans or somebody like that. I don't know, because A.J. Brown's out there too. There's a couple wide receivers out there because the wide receiving market is absolutely robust. Let's get to
Why do you think he wants to? I've not heard this. Why do you think he wants to be traded? Has he said?
I think it's contract terms. It comes down to a new contract. He's not getting the money that he's looking for. And he's asked. Jeff Darlington came out today on ESPN, said he wants to be traded. Of course, he eliminated all his social media. And that's what you do these days. When you're upset with your team, you eliminate all your social media. You still have Kyler Murray, who did this a couple months ago. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think Samuel would be a major loss to that offense, especially with you're not going to have Jimmy Garoppolo. You're going to have Trey Lance that's going to start. You're going to have a young quarterback, and you're going to miss your biggest weapon, not only wide receiver, but also a running back from a fantasy standpoint. It is just an absolute body blow to the San Francisco 49ers. And once again, everything working out to the Bucs' favor. Dennis Phillips, go ahead and promote yourself. We'll get you out of here on that.
Well, lastly, just the comment is, if it's money, I think they come up with the money. I just do, because you're right. I don't see how that team can lose him. Right. I mean, they've got Ayuk, and who actually a couple of years ago was better than last year. He didn't do much last year at all. You've got Mostert. Debo is so important to that team. I can't imagine that money is going to keep them from keeping him. If he wanted to go because he didn't like the coach or because there was a personality conflict, that's something entirely different. But if he's just posturing like Kyler Murray, because Kyler's going to stay in Arizona, he will.
Sure.
And he did the same thing, taking out all his social media stuff because he wanted more money. I get it. That's fine. So maybe that's what you do these days. If you're an NFL player, that's the way to get your point across. And if so, I think he's done so. But if it's purely a money issue, I can't imagine that they don't sign him, because he's that integral part of that team. Anyway, here Monday through Friday, ABC Action News. Quiet for another 4 or 5 weeks, and then hurricane season starts, and I'll be on your TVs a lot over the summer and fall. I suspect we're going to have a pretty active season.
All right, there you go. The great Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, meteorologist, but on this show, he's a sports broadcaster. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend. All right?
All right, Peter. Nice talking to you again.
All right, there you go. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. I tell you what, let's go out to this guy. Let's get his intro on. Here we go. Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports and Night Sports Production. Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the Evolution. Let's go ahead and get this guy on, Jay Rubin of Night Sports Productions right there. And I believe if I can go ahead and eliminate this right here, move that. There we go. There's Mr. Will Lewis. So we got we're talking AFC East tonight, guys. Gentlemen, welcome to the Evolution. How y'all doing tonight?
Great.
I'm great. I'm great. This is it's an interesting evening for me personally. But you know, we're gonna be talking some football. But I it's funny. I had a text message with Leo earlier, about some college basketball stuff. So it's like a real crazy night for me right now.
Well, you know what, Peter, let's get to that right now. Well, you and I have been going back and forth with this. It's been rumored, and it's pretty close to happening. Jay Wright is stepping down, retiring from Villanova after 21 seasons.
I don't even know where that's coming from. I don't know if, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 60 years old, right? Like,
yeah.
How many people would say, "Oh, I'm just going to hang it up at 60"?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I'm just thinking, well, maybe he got tired of the sweatsuits instead of those three-piece suits that he used to sport on the sidelines. So
maybe I don't know, but it seems very, very odd that he would do that now. So there's something is not being told to the public right now, but you know, and it seems like, you know, they bringing in his former assistant Kyle Neptune, who was at Fordham this season. So
and had a great season. Great season.
So that's a huge loss for Fordham, but they bringing him in to be the next guy over at Villanova, and I'm shocked by it. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked too, and that was the breaking news. Of course, Jay Wright of Villanova looks like he's going to retire. He's going to step down. There was conversation about this 3 weeks ago. Of course, he's been on the sideline since 2001, 2002, won national championships in 16 to 18. So we will keep you abreast of that situation as breaking news just keeps on happening every night here on the Sports Web, whether it's football, baseball, or in this case, basketball. Jay's been quiet. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself to the Evolution. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, everyone. Jay Rubin here. Just looking forward. I'm just as shocked as you guys were to hear about Jay Wright. You know, your mind starts racing and you think of all the different possibilities and, you know, NIL stuff. A lot of these coaches really don't want to deal with that maybe. I mean, Coach K retired. You know, Billy Donovan's been in the NBA now for several years. A lot of people forget that. So my mind raced just like you guys, but I'm very happy to be here to talk football.
Yeah, I know. We're going to talk football. Of course, we usually talk Tampa Bay Buccaneer football, and we'll continue to do that. If you have some questions for the panel, they could definitely answer your question or a question for me. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. Let's start off with the AFC East, and let's talk about the New York Football Jets here, Will. I mean, what do you make of them? 4-13 in 2021. Hope springs eternal with the optimism. You have second-year quarterback Zach Wilson, and now there's talk that they could be in the clubhouse for a Deebo Samuel. What do you see with this Jets team in 2022?
Listen, I can't see them because they have so many holes. I can't see them going into draft night, but they do have weapons. They do have a lot of draft picks. They could make a move for Deebo Samuel, but do you give up all your draft picks for that? Because I know that San Francisco is going to want something astronomical in return, right? So they could do that. They could go that route, but I feel like the Jets have so many holes that they really can't do that route that way. They do have, they do have the option though. So we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting draft night to see what they do as far as the Jets fans are concerned.
You know what, Will? That's same question with the Patriots. Everybody thought once number 12 left that they were going to go right into the 10-7, made the playoffs. Are they trending up or trending down? What's your thoughts?
Oh, they're trending up. They have a couple of holes that they need to fill on the defensive side of the ball, but they're a playoff team already. They're probably going to win the division, more than likely. They'll probably come back up on top in the division.
Wow, that's a bombshell for me. And I got to tell you, Jay, one of the teams that's favored, of course, not only the Buffalo Bills, but now the Miami Dolphins. They were 9-8. They fired Brian Flores. Of course, they have a new coach. And of course, the big story was the additions they made in the offseason. But just, talk about the Dolphins. Do you expect the Miami Dolphins to be better or worse this season with the additions they made in free agency?
Definitely better. Because I think, obviously they added an offensive coach with Mike McDaniel. They have Tua has a lot of weapons, but really I think what it's going to come down to is the continuity on defense. They kept Josh Boyer. He's going into his third season. I think that was a big thing, keeping him on the staff. And the defense is what fueled that 7-game win streak they had last year. So when you look at the depth chart, you look at all the additions, and I think they had a really good core, and they did nothing but improve this offseason. So it's kind of going to be how Tua goes. But I think the defense and the weapons they have is really going to have them in position to succeed. And to it may not be a huge improvement, maybe 1 or 2 games, but I see them getting better for this upcoming season.
Because
now, did they lose anybody on the defensive end? I haven't been following them. I don't know if they lost anybody on the defensive side of the ball.
No,
they've
not really. Defense didn't lose anybody.
So everybody's intact.
Yeah. My question for you guys, and I know it's kind of off subject because we don't have it as we have our questions here, but I wanted to ask you, what do you guys make of the rumors this offseason with Tom Brady, Sean Payton? In your opinion, Jay and Will and Leo, you can go into it if you want to, but Jay, first for you, did you believe in those rumors that were coming out that not only Tom Brady wanted to be possibly a minority owner, but also a quarterback with Sean Payton as head coach? What did you make of those rumors coming out this season?
I think they were what they were. They were rumors. They got started somewhere, and they kind of the snowball effect happened. And I think Tom Brady, he's here. He wants to win another Super Bowl. They lost to the Super Bowl champs, in a very, very close game. So I feel, he knows he's there. But, I'm sure it generated a lot of buzz and definitely got a lot of attention. But I didn't really give too much. I didn't hear enough things to warrant those rumors. But it would be pretty interesting,
I'll be honest. I thought it was laughable. I thought it was laughable. I really did, because I felt like, okay, what if that really was true? Tom Brady's going to come back to the AFC East to face the Patriots twice, trying to win the division. I thought that was hilarious to me.
Yeah. You know what, guys? Here's what I think. And again, it's all supposition. The SAT word of the night, guys.
Very nice.
Did Tom Brady actually pursue that? Probably not. Did one of Tom Brady's team have talks about that? Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think they approached somebody who was in Brady's inner circle but couldn't be connected to Brady. Kind of like the Arians thing. There was a lot of backroom chatter, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was brought. Hey, Brady may have nixed it right away, but where there's smoke, there's fire, fellas. And I think that Stephen Ross may have put that olive branch out to see what would happen.
And because Ross has that connection with Michigan, and then there's also a gentleman by the name of Bill. I can't think of his first name at this point. I don't want to say Bradley Bill, not the basketball player, but there's somebody involved in an organization by the name of Bill who is also connected to Michigan. People kind of put, but to me, it doesn't make any sense because you're going from the NFC South, which to me is a cupcake at this point, gentlemen, to an AFC East that the Buffalo Bills. You got a question?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Will's already throwing the Bills under the bus, and I think this is the team that will finally get to the Super Bowl next year. They were 11-6, a coin flip away from playing in the AFC Championship game, and they signed a lot of pieces, bringing people in. Better or worse in 2022, J. Rube?
Better. You're talking the number one defense in football. They added Von Miller, who's I think he's going to be great in the locker room. Just got a ring, obviously. People are definitely going to look up to him, and when he speaks, people will listen. Stephon Diggs is happy. He's going to be there for a while, and most importantly, you got Josh Allen. And everybody, when you're watching people, certain players play, everybody has that. Certain players have that wow factor, and Josh Allen has that wow factor. He's so big and so strong, and just makes plays. You combine that with the number one defense in the league. They're the very sexy Super Bowl pick right now, and that's warranted. they look really, really good on paper right now. And I think they're, adding Von Miller was only going to, improve the team to the next level this year.
I forgot about Von Miller. I forgot that they added him. I forgot they added him.
Right, and they not only added him, but they also added O.J. Howard. I mean, I know, to Bucs fans, he didn't work out, but I think maybe a change of scenery. We know he's a former first-round pick. He's got potential. You pair him with Dawson Knox, and then offense, to me, has an opportunity to get even more explosive. And then on top of it, you have a happy wide receiver there and a Stephon Diggs, right, Will?
Yeah, he's definitely, Stephon Diggs is the truth, and he's probably the best wide receiver in the division. So, I mean, yeah, they're still loaded. They're still loaded.
Yeah,
it's going to be a competitive division. I think it's going to be top heavy. You're going to get the Dolphins are getting better, and then you have the Patriots and you also have the Bills. So it's going to be very top heavy in the AFC East.
Leo,
you know what? When we look at what's going on, the funny thing is, I think all 4 teams are trending up. They are. They're looking to improve, and that's got to be scary for the rest of the NFL.
I think the Jets will improve. I think this draft is very important for GM Douglas because these are going to be. This is the second draft, I think, a second or third draft in a row where he's going to have his guys in, and that they're doing their research. I think it's important that they address the defensive side of the ball. When that does happen, or if that does happen come draft night and they go out there and play, they're still like 2 or 3 years away, but they're going to be a lot better than what they were last year.
And we're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and out media member of Amped Up Sports, and of course, Night Sports Productions. We got Will Lewis of Night Sports Productions, and of course, Jay Rubin here. I'm your host, Peter Blake, live here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. You talk about the Jets here, Will, really quick. I mean, what are the bright spots offensively and defensively? What can they build on in this upcoming season, in your opinion?
Well, I think they have if they can keep him upright, I think they have the quarterback that they want. I think all they need to do really is give him some weapons too. So they have to. I think they need another wide receiver for that. They need a running game as well. So they need a nice, strong running back that can. They have so many holes though. Like they also they have defensive issues, but the offense, I think they have they're getting somewhere with it. But they still need some holes to fill, especially on that offensive line too. They couldn't keep him upright the whole time.
You know what, Will? That's the $64,000 question. You draft that big-time quarterback. Now you got to protect him, and you protect him with an offensive line, a tight end, and a great running game. Where's that one spot on offense and defense that the Jets are really deficient and they've got to address in the draft?
There is that's the problem. I don't think there is one spot. Like they don't have a tight end, they don't have a running back, and they don't have enough offensive linemen to make sure that you can protect this guy. So that's just the offensive end of the ball. On the defensive side, they need pass rushers, they need a cornerback. Like they weren't able to stop anybody last year. So there's just so many holes to fill. That's why I'm saying that this particular draft, and they have multiple picks this year. So they have 2 first rounders in the top 10, along with the Giants, right? So they have several picks that they need to address certain parts of the football, certain sides of the ball with it.
All right, let's move on to New England because you have already picked them as the division champions, and to me that's hard against the Buffalo Bills. But it's not Mac Jones there, and I think we lost Jay there, so we'll have to get him back. But what spots on offense and defense are the Pats best at, in your opinion, Will?
Well, the Pats, what they're best at or what they need?
What do you think they're best at? Bright spots like we talked about with the Jets.
So their bright spots clearly is they got the quarterback of the future for them. Okay. That is their leader. That is their quarterback. They're gonna be okay for the next 10 years with that guy. So he is going to be around for a while, and I think that's their best asset right now.
Leo,
you know what, Will? let's take a look at the Patriots on offense and defense. I thought quarterback was going to be a major issue. The kid
I thought
played
so
pretty
too.
well. Kid played pretty well. Got to give him credit.
He is. He. I think he's the guy. Like when they drafted him, and Bill Belichick said, "Yeah, this is the guy that I want for my system." I kind of thought, I was like, he seemed a little slow, but I'm like, well, Tom Brady wasn't necessarily quick either, right? So he kind of fits within that system. I just thought it was going to take a little bit of time, but he was able to do it from the beginning. So that's
you know what, Will? The biggest problem was they were embarrassed by Buffalo in that first round of the playoffs.
Ugly.
They were.
I mean, that had to be the worst game in New England history. That we got to go back to when the Bears beat them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
To get anything like that. And
I don't think you see that again, though.
No, I don't think you will. Because one thing we know about Belichick, he learns quickly, doesn't he?
He learns very quickly. That's why that was embarrassing. It was as bad as it could possibly be. I don't think you will see that even in the regular season, let alone you'll catch them in the playoff streets. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that was an anomaly.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, before we go on,
yes.
I think I know why you jumped off. Did you take the Bucks and the points or what? What are you doing here?
I had the Nets and the points, and they just blew it in Boston. So
they did. Lost. Absolutely. They lost. They gave it away. Oh,
Boston
my Lord.
just took a 2-0 lead. So you got NBA playoffs going on right now with our AFC East roundtable here on the Evolution. Let's go out to you, J. Rube. Talk about the Dolphins. We already talked about what they did in the offseason, but offensively and defensively, the areas you think the Dolphins excel at?
They definitely excel on defense, especially at corner. They have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, who just both got paid. So two of the highest paid and two of the best corners in the league. They really do excel on defense. Then also they're pretty loaded at wide receiver. You have, obviously, they just added Tyreek Hill. They have Cedric Wilson. They have Gesicki at tight end. Very important, though, especially with a young quarterback like Tua, and why I think they're going to be such a strong team is you have Jalen Waddle at wide receiver, and this guy, you're not paying him, so he's still on a rookie contract. So is Tua, and this is the time when teams need to make a run. When once you give your quarterback $300-400 million, whatever, it's harder to protect him and to have the talent around them. And right now they're in a really good spot, and so they excel on D, especially at corner. They excel at wide receiver. And like I said, right now they're not paying these guys.
What about the deficiencies of the Miami Dolphins? Does it always go back to quarterback and Tua? I mean, he's not been able to stay healthy. He's been inconsistent. I mean, what are the biggest deficiencies with the Dolphins offensively and defensively, in your opinion?
Defensively, they really don't have too many deficiencies. Maybe, inside linebacker if we're splitting hairs.
Okay.
They need a running back. They went out and they got one with Mostert. Little bit of injury history there, but I think they may draft one. They definitely need a running back. But you're right. I mean, as Tua goes, they'll go. But I really think they're one of those teams where, they're so talented on both sides of the ball that if they get in, if Tua gets hurt, which he's known to get hurt, he's not, making yourself available is a skill, but they're so skilled, they're so, loaded kind of at all these different skill positions that, if Tua is to miss a few games again, I still think they're going to make a playoff push for sure.
You know what, Jay? Let's go to the Bills, and I'm going to pat myself on the back here first, because when Josh Allen came out and there were three quarterbacks, I said, that's the guy you want. Anybody that can go play at 8,000 feet at the University of Wyoming and excel at altitude, that's the guy you want. He's a tough SOB. And, Jay, it all starts and stops on offense with him, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And he's a sight to see. I mean, for those of you that haven't seen him play in person, I recommend you go to a Bills game. I mean, we just saw him a few months ago here in Tampa. I mean, you're talking every bit of 6'6".
He took the game over, didn't he? Just took it
completely.
Over.
And just like he did against New England, I mean, he's every bit of 6'6". He's 240 pounds. You can't stop the guy. He will run you over. And I mean, the Bills have a really good D line, and they're obviously the number one defense. But I mean, he is special. He is very, very special. And I think he takes them pretty far in the AFC this year for sure.
You know what, Jay Rube? I took a look at that, and watch that game. And here's a quarterback playing with a fullback mentality. That when he breaks that first line and gets into the secondary, man, you got to make a decision whether you're going to tackle him because he's not going to slide.
No.
That's for sure. Jay, what's the weak spots other than they forgot to kick onside?
They could improve at corner. They do have the number one defense, but they could improve at corner. I think they're going to address that in the draft. A name with Leo is Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson University. I think that's the one they're going to look at for sure come draft day, which is next week.
All right, well, let's talk about next week in the draft for the New York Jets. 4-10, what are they looking at and why?
I think, they do have a good number of picks, so I think you got to go with the defensive side of the ball to as far as the top picks are concerned. And you still have some holes on offense, but I think you address those a little bit later in the draft. But you definitely got to go with a defensive side of the ball. It could be anybody like, I don't know. I mean, it could be a safety. They need a safety. They can get like somebody like a Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame, maybe.
Yeah. How about Kayvon Thibodeau out at Oregon? He'd be a hell of a fit, wouldn't he?
He would be a great fit.
And why is his stock all of a sudden? Because we heard this rumor, and say whatever you want to. It's kind of lying season at this point. Dan Campbell doesn't like Thibodeau, so why is he all of a sudden, in your opinion, guys, dropped?
You know what, guys? I'm going to jump in there first.
You go first. I want to go next. I have a take on this.
This is the time of disinformation.
Absolutely.
You got to understand that teams are putting out more disinformation to hope guys will drop. Let's go back to Warren Sapp. Jay, you remember that? The Chicago Bears
where I was when I heard the Bucs drafted him.
Yeah, and the Chicago Bears put out, he's flunked drug tests. And believe me, I think the Bucs need to be so happy that Tony Dungy wasn't calling the draft then, because I don't think he'd have drafted him. But, hey, Sam White's jumped on Warren Sapp. So, again, and you got an injury issue. That's always a problem when you got somebody coming out, and that's the problem. But when the guy's healthy, he's a player.
Jay?
Yeah, I mean, like Leo said, I remember thinking Warren Sapp would be number 1, number 2 pick in the draft. I remember where I was when I heard the Bucs got him at I think it was the 12th pick, Leo?
Yeah.
And you look at it, someone like that, first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, are we going to even get into the Randy Moss discussion? I mean,
oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, this is, like Leo said, this is the time of disinformation where these crazy stories come out. You have years of tape on these players, and you're going to throw it all away because of, rumors that come about this week. And it is a crazy time, but if you watched Warren Sapp play at Miami, if you watched Randy Moss play at Marshall, it should have been no question.
No,
you know what, Peter, I got to jump in here.
Yeah.
Jay, do you remember that we were doing a live remote over in Pinellas County for the draft, and the Bucs traded up one spot to take the quarterback, and you and I about fell out of our chair? You remember that?
I absolutely remember that. They drafted Josh Freeman.
Josh Freeman.
And this is when he was in the Big 12, and I'm looking at my notes, and I said he was 11th in the Big 12. Had 12 quarterbacks, and back then they didn't play any defense. I mean, they still don't, but back then they really didn't play any defense. And I said he was 11th out of the 12 quarterbacks in completion percentage. That's like an important, stat there. And Leo and I just kind of looked at each other, and the Bucs fans were going nuts, and
and they traded up. And they traded up once to get him. Oh, it was crazy.
And here's the thing, the disinformation that year, they actually signed Byron Leftwich. So I was under the impression, they addressed that position with Leftwich. That's not always the case. And Will, go back to Warren Sapp and the New York Jets. Can you remember where you were? Because I can remember the Jets cheering and saying, Jet. And who did they draft? Was it Kyle Brady?
That's who they drafted. Wow, that's a trivia for real. Wow.
Now, the talk was at the time that Bill Belichick, who was with Cleveland, wanted Brady, but of course he didn't work out. But you draft the tight end that high. over a Warren Sapp, who's just a game wrecker. And thanks to Mike Mamula for having that great combine, because, of course, Sapp turned into a Hall of Famer. The prototypical three technique for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here.
You know what? Let's let Jay try to figure out who Miami's going to take. They don't have a pick till the third round, Jay. Do they even go anywhere? What do you think?
Yeah, they're gonna. I think they're gonna address running back, because you can really steal a running back that late in the draft. I'm thinking like James Cook. They're actually speaking to James Cook, or they've already spoken to James Cook, who's the running back out of Georgia, who obviously is coming off a national championship season. James Cook, fast, very physical back, brother of Dalvin Cook. So I think that's one they're gonna look at that late in the draft, but. I think that's what they'll do. They'll get somebody. They get 1,000 yards out of a running back like that late in the draft on a rookie contract. It's just playing with house money at that point.
Absolutely.
And really, it's always, for me, the pick that got away. The Bucs should have never drafted O.J. Howard. They should have drafted Dalvin Cook. I don't care about drafting a running back in the first round. Tell you what, Will, let's talk about the New England Patriots, your eventual AFC East winner. They lose J.C. Jackson. Do you think they go corner there? Could they go linebacker, Utah, Devin Lloyd? Where do you see the New England Patriots going at 21 to improve that team?
I think they have those are two holes that they need to fill, but they also need a wide receiver, right? So I don't know. Like but knowing Belichick, they'll probably go on the defensive end of the ball, defensive side, so they could probably get either that, or if they do offensively and they try to get a wide receiver, they'll probably get somebody like a Drake London out of USC, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and look, they drafted a N'Keal Harry just a couple of years ago, and I think we lost Jay again, so let's get him out of here. Let's wait till he comes back. But you're exactly right. I mean, who's the number one weapon with the New England Patriots at this point? And I always say, look, you go two areas with a young quarterback. You draft an offensive lineman, especially a left tackle, to protect that quarterback's blind side.
Absolutely.
And you also go with a number one wide receiver. And Leo word, there is a plethora of receivers out there. Of course, of Mr. London out of USC. Why would he be there? Because I hear he could go from, top 10 to now 20. I mean, why are so many people down on him? Is it, Will, the speed effect out of USC?
I don't know. I'm hearing there's so many. We talking about, this is like the second person that we're talking about where their draft stock has kind of fallen. I don't understand what's really going on right now. Yeah. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's going on, guys? Here's the problem. There are no, and I asked Jason Light this yesterday. There's not going to be the 2, 3, 4, or maybe 5 quarterbacks taken in that top 20 picks. You may not see a quarterback, the second quarterback, go till mid to late 20s. So all of a sudden, they got a lot of players sitting there. And, when people are taking quarterbacks, there's not that Deshaun Watson guy. There's not the Mahomes guy. There's not the Trevor Lawrence guy. You're going to stretch to get somebody. And we're going to see who's going to stretch with that. We got Jay back. Jay, what are you making, a halftime bet? Come on, what's going on here?
Hold on a sec here. You're right on cue, because I was about to play that question you had for Jason Light yesterday, and he's gone again. So let's go out to that comment from Jason Light. Your question to him about quarterbacks. Here we go.
It looks like there's not going to be that 2, 3, or 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 15. Does that help or hurt you picking down the draft?
You're hearing that, I guess, through the media, but I assume that you haven't talked to the other 31 general managers.
Just 30.
Yeah, okay, just 30. Like I said, we have to prepare for every scenario. So.
All right, so there you go. Prepare for every scenario. Let's get back Jay in there. Jay, great question, Leo. And he also had another question here about draft board when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want to play this, gentlemen, and see if you agree. Here we go.
7th. There's a good chance that you're still going to have people on your board above that. Do you trust your board and take the highest, or is that when you start to look for need among those players?
You have to trust your board, and you can't push players, like I said before, of a perceived need too high just because you need that position. Otherwise, they're going to trump other really good players at different positions. We could take a player literally just about any position on our team, and I think if they're a great player, we're going to be happy we did it. So it's a delicate balance of wanting to win now and also looking into the future. But, you know, as a general manager, my staff, we have to have our eye on the future a little bit too. So, but we obviously want a player that's going to come in and impact us and have a good year and help us win a Super Bowl this year. But, you know, you just never know until you get the player in the building. You can do all the work you want. You just never really know how it's going to work out.
And you really don't. And go ahead, Leo. I mean, you want to comment on a great question. He expounded on it. And to me, what came across, and again, we're with Will Lewis of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports. We got Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. I'm your host, Peter Blake of the Sports Web Live on the Hub. I love St. Pete. And again, Amped Up Sports. What came across with that comment is he kind of said, you got to go with your board. You can't reach, and you also have to think about the future. And he mentioned the future a couple times. So where do you lie on that, and how do you think it affects the other teams? Did the teams go with their board, the future, best player available? And I guess Jay is not in here right now. He's having some problems with his connection. So go ahead and answer that question, Leo. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess Jay hasn't won a lot of bets lately and can't pay that phone bill. You know, what can I tell you? But yeah, you know what, Peter? I'm going to go back. When I started working for Arlad Scouting Service with Tom Hepler,
nice.
I had a chance to sit down with Carmen Perone. Now, Carmen Perone had just retired as the head scout for the New Orleans Saints. And we're sitting at dinner one time, and I said, Carmen, school me. What do I need to know? And he said, okay, here's what has to happen. And this was back when there was 10, 11, 12 rounds. It was a lot of picks.
Mm-hmm.
He said, look, your first round, the guy you take has to play. He said, with one exception, quarterback. You take a quarterback, you can sit him. But your first round pick has to play, period. Has to be a starter. Your second round pick has to be one of those guys that gets on the field. Your nickel corner, your slot receiver, your rush end, somebody like that. Third round and down, all you're trying to do is get depth so you can replace the big salaries with smaller salaries. And I said, what else do I need to know? He said, you got to trust your board. When you got a guy up there, that needs to be the guy. And again, Detroit got stuck there for a couple times because they had, Megatron up there. Then they had Mike Williams. And they basically took the same guy, but you got to trust your board. That's what it's up there for. So that's what I was thinking. And it was great to hear Jason Light say the same thing. Verbatim, got to trust your board.
Yeah, I would never associate Mike Williams, who basically was a fat tight end at that point, coming out of Plant High, to a Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson is a Hall of Fame monster. I never understood why Matt Millen was doing what he was doing. But with that being said, how do you feel about it? You trust your board, you go with best player available, or do you reach for a need at that point, Will?
When coaches say they got to trust the board, but then the board ends up getting it wrong.
Right.
So if you're trusting your board and you guys were in this, y'all looked at the same film that the average people looked at, or fans looked at, or whatever, who were you looking at if that's the case?
Yeah.
You know what, Will? I'm going to put this out to you. Here's the Bucs sitting there at 27. Here's the Rams sitting at 32. What if the top guy on their board is the quarterback? Now you're going,
right.
Wait a second. I got Trask. I don't need that. I'm with the Rams. I'm not picking until God knows when.
Right.
But I got a quarterback up there. Now you got to figure out, okay, it's easier to take the best available when you're talking third round to seventh round.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
When you're up there first and second round, you're looking and going, okay, I need help. I need somebody who's going to jump on there right away.
And
right.
Will, you know how this could come back to haunt you, namely the Jets. I mean, their number one picks are being traded out. They're busts. So this is the reason why this team right now is in a major rebuild. And of course, it always starts with Zach Wilson. We wanted to have Jay Rubin to talk about Buffalo, Leo, 25th round. We'll go with you first, Leo. Where do you see the Buffalo Bills going? And then we'll go to you, Will. Leo, what do
you know what? Somebody's going to drop. And when I say somebody, I'm talking about a position. There are so many good wide receivers. And there are so many teams that are going to have to take offensive and defensive linemen because of that need.
Sure.
You may see one of those guys drop. In fact, if Booth is still on the board, as Jay talked about earlier, I wouldn't be surprised to see that be the pick. The kid out of Clemson, he can play.
I mean, he can play, and then on top of it, you're getting great value there. And you look at your division overall. I mean, the Jets, of course, are going to try to get better. The Miami Dolphins are getting better with their two wideouts. So at the end of the day, you can never have too many corners. Of course, it's a passing league, right, Will?
Absolutely. I mean, they can use that, but they can make it. They could definitely use a cornerback because there's going to be a lot of weapons going at them each week in this division. So yeah, I believe that.
You know what, guys? I don't know if you heard Mike Tannehill the other day on Get Up, and he brought up a great point. Yeah, Mike Tannenbaum. He brought up a great point. Everybody talks that you got to take a corner every year. It's getting to the point now you got to take a wide receiver every year too, because these guys are becoming so mobile and so fluid in going place to place. And again, a lot of these guys, the Deebo Samuels, the Tyreek Hills, the guys that have outperformed their contract. And that's what Deebo Samuels is looking at. Say, hey, I've outperformed my contract. I'm not going to wait another year. You're going to have to do something. Now, Kyler Murray, that's a whole different dynamic.
$40 million. I mean, are you guys paying $40 million?
No,
Murray
no,
in the market?
no, not even close.
But you almost have to, Leo and Will, because
Nope.
you put yourself in that situation. You put yourself in that corner when you decided to reset by drafting a Josh Rosen, getting rid of him, and now going with the Kyler Murray. You're basically going to reset your franchise again unless you're going to get a veteran quarterback. I don't see it happen. I think you're forced to get Kyler Murray, and if not, it's going to be a complete disaster with the Cardinals if they don't get him signed.
Well, Peter, what's he going to do? Is he going to sit out?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he's not going to. All of a sudden, when that money's not coming in, he's going to figure out, I got to play. Peter, what hurt his stock was he completely crapped the bed in the playoff game. He was god awful.
Yeah.
So
he was.
how am I going to, as the Cardinals say, how am I going to give this guy $40 million when he just in a home game?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a home game.
Yeah.
Now, I grade it. Hopkins wasn't there. He was hurt. But my God, if you're going to be that $40 million, the Cardinals need to make this decision. Is he a guy or is he that guy? I don't think he's that guy right now. I think he's the guy. I think you say, okay, we're going to give you 20, 22, 25 right in there for 2 years. Prove you're the guy. And if he doesn't like it, well, guess what? We're moving on.
All right. And I'll tell you right now, he looked like a guy in that playoff game. And of course, Will, there was rumors about his maturity issues and, not being a leader. And then he's, removing all his social media for the Arizona Cardinals. So you really don't know what to think about the situation. But I'll say this. I don't think the Cardinals have done right by this young man because they haven't built an offensive line around him. You got to build an offensive line around this guy because he's undersized. He's kind of like, I think a smaller version of Russell Wilson, and that's saying something. Russell Wilson's a small guy, and what do we know about Wilson? You got to alleviate those hits. If you got a mobile guy, you got to protect him, and you got to also show this kid how to throw from the pocket and have pocket awareness. But if you're not giving him at least 2 to 3 seconds to throw the ball, you're doing a disservice to him.
So that goes back to when you get that franchise quarterback, right? It's like, what do you do with the draft picks? What do you take care of first? Because they gave him some weapons.
Sure.
They gave him Hopkins. They gave him weapons.
Right.
But they didn't protect him.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and you know what? We had Tristan Wirfs at a press conference, and I asked him again, I said, hey, Tom Brady told you at the beginning of the year when you came in, he told you, don't let him come quick, don't let him come inside. Has anything changed? He said, nope.
Hold on.
That's the medicine.
No, go ahead. No, because I thought I had it there. I would go out to that. So, with that being said, talking about the wide receivers, and I want to go out to some of these comments really quick, but Christian Kirk, getting paid $18 to $20 million, Mike Williams, Devontae Adams. I mean, they have absolutely inflated the market. Production-wise, they deserve it. They're very important. But I always go back to the Packers. The Packers could have alleviated that with two ways, either signing him in the first place or drafting a wide receiver a couple years earlier. All right, let's go out to these guys here. Roger says, I won't work at Publix with all y'all. I have a real job. Troy says, I was talking about the other Pete from work. You don't work with us, Roger. Stop it. Jamie says, Bucks Germany game has been leaked November 13th. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Rays winning a rain-shortened game. Good stuff. Last check, it was 8-2. Hey, Publix makes good chicken, and it's affordable. Agree with that. Christopher says, Dolphins' biggest problem is Stephen Ross. I agree 100%. Sean says, I think Kyler is overrated. Big-time Packer fan right there. And the new CBA makes it really hard for players to sit out.
Yep.
There is that.
I think they would do it with the new penalties. Roger says Justin Fields is God. Let's talk about young quarterbacks because I know we're talking about AFC East, and we'll get out to you, Mark Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio, just a little bit here. But what are the Chicago Bears doing for Justin Fields? I almost feel like it's a recap of what the Cardinals have done for Kyler Murray, except they've given him no wide receivers, and the offensive line is relatively young. Is this kid going to be successful this year, Leo? Go.
No. Plain and simple, no.
You're setting him up for failure.
And I don't think he was one of those guys to start with. Again, when you saw him play against Alabama, I mean, it was embarrassing. Anybody can beat Northwestern. Anybody can beat Illinois. Anybody can beat Indiana.
No, big boy. You're not going to skip this. Hey, he played through an injury and threw 5 touchdowns versus your Clemson Tigers and Trevor Lawrence, did he not?
And you know what? If it wasn't for a horrific call for a spear and targeting when the linebacker just broke him in half, and because he laid on the field, the referee said, oh, my God, we got to call something. And again, look what happened the next time. Peter, we saw him in Tampa this year. And again, you don't expect somebody to come out and be playing for a team down this. It's like Trevor Lawrence at Jacksonville. He wasn't going to play well. Fields wasn't going to play well because Chicago was in disarray. It was in turmoil. The problem is, and Will, you could probably answer it the best covering the Jets, you just can't get those offensive linemen, those running backs, those wide receivers that the quarterback needs in 1 year. It's a 2 to 3 year process, isn't it?
It's definitely a 2 to 3 year process. And the Bears just got Fields, right? So they don't even have I don't even know if they have a real plan. I have not heard about anything about what they want to get. They haven't even talked about it. So the plan for them starts now. So it's going to be a very important draft for them too.
Well, it's going to be very important for them. And again, I don't see, look, I get it. They're going to have lots of cap next year, possibly $150 million, but you're going to get this kid killed. And look, you've already admitted the previous coaching staff, you didn't game plan for him. I don't know what you can do. I guess run the ball as much as you can. Guys, let's get you out of here on this really quick. Leo, what do you think the biggest surprise is right now that you're going to see next week in that draft night?
You've got 6 teams with multiple picks, Peter. And I like Will to talk about this too. I don't see how you're going to have all those teams take those picks and be expected to sign these guys. I think you're going to see a lot of wheeling and dealing, maybe before draft day. But again, the NFL is a copycat league. What did the Rams do? They traded away draft picks for proven talent.
Yeah.
You may see that. Will, what do you think?
I'm with you right now. 6 teams. No one's going to keep all that. I mean, people are trying to save money right now too. So no one's going to keep all 6 these 6 teams are not going to keep all their draft picks. It's not going to happen. You're going to see some blockbuster trades either prior to or the night of. It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. Final question. What receiver is more likely to get traded on draft night? Terry McLaurin of Washington, Deebo Samuel of San Francisco, or A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans? Leo, go.
Peter, I don't know if any of them is going to get traded.
Wow.
Here's the thing. I think somebody's going to call about Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can get him for a 1 and a 3, but I don't think you're going to see multiple. They're not going to get multiple first-round picks. That's for sure. But if you can get a 1 and like a 2023, a 3 or a 4, that's the only way it'll happen. But again, you're talking about guys under contract.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing.
The crazy thing is, though, Will, we've seen a lot of these trades, and my good buddy Sean Murphy says DK Metcalf is another one. Seattle, to me, they should trade him because you don't have a quarterback there. I mean, I guess you got the greatness of Drew Lock and possibly Baker Mayfield. So if you're going to blow it up with the DK Metcalf. And I know Sean is hoping for Metcalf to go to the Green Bay Packers. Is that the particular player that you could see being moved on draft night, or the previous selections that we talked about?
I mean, how many years does DK have on his contract?
I think it's like a couple more years.
2 more years.
I don't see him. That's hard to move. That's hard to move.
Right.
And you talk about Seattle needing a quarterback. They don't even want Baker Mayfield from what we're hearing. So who's the quarterback supposed to be? So you got to get rid of him.
Yeah. You know what, guys? Real quick. You are seeing the best game of chicken being played in the NFL right now. Cleveland saying, okay, give me a pick. Give me something for Baker Mayfield. The rest of the NFL say, nah, you're going to release him and we're going to get him that way.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I think Carolina needs to do. Carolina needs to say, hey, I'll give you a couple of 4s, 4 this year and a 4 next year for Baker Mayfield. And because if he gets released, now it's Ole in free. He's a free agent. And you know what? Carolina, they're going to take a quarterback. And my buddy Gus Cattingill down at ESPN New Orleans says, Carolina's going to take a quarterback. I said, Gus, there's nobody that's deserving at 7. He goes, Carolina's going to take a quarterback. Problem is, I think he's right.
And he's absolutely right, because you're talking about, Kenny Pickett, who's been, said with little hands. Sean says they have 1 year left. I thought it was 2 for DK, but it may be 1 year. But you're exactly right. And to me, if I'm the NFL, I play chicken with the Browns because I force the Cleveland Browns to release a Baker Mayfield, so you don't have to give up for anything. And I think he signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers and competes with Mitchell Trubisky there. Good stuff, guys. I tell you what, we'll get you out of here. Will Lewis, go ahead and promote yourself. Once again, thanks a lot for coming on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, DJ. Just killing it like always. Oh, man. Thank you very much for even having me. It's been a little bit since the tournaments. Yeah. But you can always find me on Twitter at DJ Commish. All of my social media actually is at DJ Commish. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. Yeah, basically. All right, good stuff there. Will Lewis of Night Sports Productions. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Will.
All right.
Talking to you, bud.
There you go, Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. Go ahead and promote yourself.
Hey, go to Amped Up Sports tonight. I'm getting ready to post. And again, Peter has shown me the light. I have been saved. I'm done with writing columns. Everything I put up now is going to be a video. So look for our national video update and our local video update somewhere in the midnight area, because guess what? I don't sleep, do I, Peter? No, you don't. It's Late Night with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Amped Up Sports Night. Peter, one thing before we go. Yes. We're going to be doing double duty tomorrow night. We're going to go out and interview some of the USF coaches out at the the Pepin Hospitality Room. Then we're heading over for the first Peter and Leo show over at Amalie Arena for an 8 o'clock game it's a playoff extravaganza because it's going to be a prelude. Toronto and the Lightning. We're going to be there. We're going to enjoy it.
I love it. And everybody's asking me, why did you join up with this guy right here? Because he's a legend and he's making me credentialed media. He is making me a made man here on the Sports Web. Appreciate you. And we'll see you tomorrow night here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live on I Love St. Pete, Amped Up Sports in the Hub, my friend.
Always fun on coming on with the hardest working man in sports media in the Tampa Bay area. Have a nice night, my friend.
Appreciate you, buddy, right there. Tell you what, let's go ahead. Let's take a quick break. And then we got the madman himself.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mark Mancini. Let's hear from our sponsors of I Love St. Pete and Bet US.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football. But, of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the Sports Web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, live here on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. Let's go out to this man right here. Let's go ahead and get him a little intro on. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to the madman, Mark Mancini.
What are you saying, brother?
Yes, XM.
Man, acknowledge the madman. Acknowledge his hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm sitting here listening to Leo and Will. They're great, man. But talking Tampa and Toronto, we're coming down to kick Tampa's ass in the playoffs, man.
Easy.
I don't know how those bandits beat my Maulers the other night.
Former XPW announcer Mark Mancini already firing shots on the Sports Web. You were talking some draft. Your thoughts on Justin Fields. Be careful now. Roger Shue is a Chicago Bear fan, but come with it here, what you had to say about your draft thoughts and, of course, Mr. Justin Fields. Go.
Well, I think Justin Fields, they haven't had a Bear quarterback there since Jim McMahon led the 85 Bears. I'm not counting Rex Grossman in the game against the Colts and all that stuff. But Justin Fields, to me, is a 15-minute car chase. Everybody enjoys it, but another guy that's wasting talents. We saw Mitch Trubisky, but Mitch Trubisky saved himself playing behind Josh Allen in Buffalo. I'm telling you right now, man, mark it down. I'm calling my shot. The Steelers are getting Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield. Little swag in the Steel Town.
I'll tell you right now, I agree with you on that, and I feel like the National Football League is playing chicken with the Cleveland Browns because of all that guaranteed money, $230 million to Deshaun Watson, only $1 million guaranteed this year. You're forced to either trade or release Baker Mayfield. If Mayfield gets released from the Cleveland Browns, book it, my friend. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to go on BetUS, type in TSW22, and make some money because Baker Mayfield will be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers if he gets released.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think his swag in Pittsburgh is going to fit. Trubisky will be the backup. The Steelers are on. And what better way to win that division, and beating Cleveland a couple times per the year. That's going to be sweet. Watch out for these Steelers, man. They got some swag in the Steel Town, I'm telling you.
The Steelers look with Mike Tomlin. They never, not surprise me because of Mike Tomlin and his coaching and the way he gets the most out of his players. Tell you what, let's go out to these comments here from these trolls. Troy Polamalu, Leo is still writing on newspapers. No, he's not. That's fake news. Shut up.
Polamalu needs to get back and do some Head and Shoulders commercials, man. A lot of people got dandruff.
Oh, Roger Shoe here. Why is Strabroni Madden on this show? It's Mancini, you jerk. He needs to acknowledge. Everybody's all about acknowledge me. Acknowledge this. How about that? How about
Well,
that?
you know, Rubin Reigns started it, baby.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Acknowledge that. How about that? Mancini, worst promo. Oh my God, says Roger Shoe. Roger again. I'm the tribal troll. Acknowledge me. We all know that. I'm head of the table. You're head of nothing at this point. If anything,
Tell Roger Rabbit to get back in his hole. We'll call him after the show.
I love Roger Shoe there, the tribal troll, and of course, followed by his brother there. Troy Polamayu says, and Mancini uses Bosley. Jeez, you guys are just.
You know, hey, the hair looking good, man. I'm telling you, I'm aging well, man. I'm looking like Pat Riley, man. I got to start donning the Armani suits for this show.
Really quick here, you talk about Pat Riley. Have you watched that show? Because now there's a lawsuit that's come out. Jerry West saying that, you know, Winning Time HBO should come out with an apology. But, you know, it's a dramatization. It's not all, you know, I don't know. I don't know where that lawsuit.
Yeah, I think I could agree with you. They made Jerry West look like he sucked down some broken stone cold beers here, man. I mean, the guy is falling all over himself. I'm saying, this is the Jerry West that orchestrated all these big trades.
I don't believe it. There's no way I believe it.
This is the guy that got Kobe Bryant for Vlade Divac?
No, I can't see it at all. All right, you also talked about the Jets, and you were also wanting to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, and then we'll get out to wrestling. So what do you have to say about the Jets? Can they finally turn it around, or is it the same old Jets with those 2 first-round picks?
Well, I like Gang Green. I like the coach there. He's got another year under his belt. We'll see it's a tough division. You're looking up at Buffalo and New England, but maybe you can leapfrog Miami. As far as Atlanta, they're going to get that wide receiver that left USC, London, man. That dude is super good. And I think the Falcons are going to swoop in on him.
Well, you know, to me, the Falcons, they need to swoop in on a wide receiver, but they may draft a quarterback. I can't contemplate Marcus Mariota being your starting quarterback. I just don't understand this. Somebody has to explain this to me. And I get it. It's not a great quarterback class. That's why I said, instead of drafting a Kyle Pitts, which a lot of people will say, you know, you got to draft a Kyle Pitts. You don't have a quarterback there. And you have a player like Matt Ryan who is declining. You should have drafted a Justin Fields or a young quarterback last year, and they didn't. And now they're stuck with either Marcus Mariota for 1 year, tanking, and then hopefully getting one of the top quarterbacks next year, namely a young out of Alabama, or you draft one this year. So you see them going with a wide receiver or a quarterback.
I think it's a wide receiver. This team has fallen apart since they relinquished that 28-3 lead to New England in the Super Bowl. They've gone backwards. They got to right the ship. Start off with a wide receiver. You're right, Mariota. He reminds me of that swan song down there in Dixie, Gone with the Wind. He'll be gone after a year.
All right, good stuff there. We got Mark Mancini, the madman himself, Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio. Keeps on saying, I want to get you on XM Sirius Radio. Let's do it, my friend.
You know, I keep telling these guys, and I said, Fred, get him on. He was talking to me today, and I said, gotta get Peter Blake, baby, man. What's going on here, man?
I don't know.
The messenger, I told him, get this guy on with us, man. We can rip the airwaves across the country.
You have 30 guests on. You have 30 topics. You're producing your own show. I mean, what do you want? I do this nearly 2-3 days a week. That's neither here nor there.
Damn good, man. Nobody can compare to you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mancini there, former XPW announcer. Let's talk about the rumor that's circulating, if you will, in the wrestling world right now. According to Fightful Select, they reported that WWE would be interested in getting FTR. Now, remember, they were called the Revival at the time. They have had enormous success with AEW. In fact, AEW knows what it's all about with tag team wrestling. I feel like watching Raw and SmackDown, it's the same old tag teams. So my thing is, even if WWE would be interested in signing him to a big money deal, and never say never because they just get Cody Rhodes about a month ago. But if I'm FTR with the success that I'm enjoying with AEW, why would you leave for WWE?
Well, you have to be some big money, probably the same way Bray Wyatt's out there holding out. They say he's rumored to come back in WWE, but he wants a big check with a lot of zeros at the end. So
Mark,
it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to give him what he wants.
Mark, there's no way they can bring back Bray Wyatt. They have ruined his character. They had opportunity after opportunity to put him over. He was already over with the crowd. You put Roman over him. You put Undertaker over him. You ruined his character. You gave it to Alexa Bliss. The only way that Bray Wyatt can be successful, in my opinion, in the wrestling business is if he goes to AEW. Just my opinion.
Yeah, well, and you're right. But, the way I look at it is I look at the thing with Roman Reigns when they didn't know what the hell to do with Roman Reigns back then. They kept pushing Seth Rollins. Even Ambrose was a little ahead of them. They didn't know. They tried to move him, out of the face thing. They tried to go the heel route, kind of like the Cena thing. And then I guess with this whole pandemic and everything, they figured out a slot. He came in with the tribal chief. He's got his family involved. I think Bray Wyatt will have to come similar to something like what Roman Reigns did to do something like that. That's going to be the thing because there's been a lot of wasted talents. You're right. The Alexa Bliss thing is wasted. We don't know if how they're going to push the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. He's going to have to get a taste of this belt. What the hell is going on with Seth Rollins? One week he's a face, the next minute he's pissing off people in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all because it seems like you're trying to get this guy over as a heel. He's over with the heel, and then he's getting cheered. So eventually you're going to turn him face. But, this whole talking thing, the promos that they got going on with Cody Rhodes are pretty good. Of course, Seth picking his opponent, Kevin Owens. I mean, what did you think about that segment on Monday night? Really quick before you answer, let me go out to Leo Haggerty. Mark, sorry we took up a lot of your time. No.
Come on, Leo. We love you, man.
We talk about everything. Everybody's got plenty of time here. I can go all night long, my friend.
Yeah, we got plenty of time to talk about the Lightning and Penguins, baby.
Let's talk about that segment the other night. Did you like how they're doing it here, building it up between a Cody Rhodes, a Seth, the booking in itself? I think it's good. I don't understand what Seth is at this juncture. And then Kevin Owens getting counted out so Cody Rhodes can go over and win. What do you think about this whole thing or this whole storyline between Cody and Seth?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's really interesting to see how this thing is. And, with Seth standing there talking about, well, he was at a disadvantage at WrestleMania. Then the whole thing where he's coming at. I think they're trying to push Cody Rhodes, get him over and everything. But at the same time, I'm still scratching my head to figure out after this, where is Seth Rollins going? I mean, he's got great mic skills and everything. You can't let a guy like this go to waste. And we could throw some more people in this mix. What the hell's going on with Dominic Mysterio? He's taking a hiatus and stuff. So there's a lot of things.
To me, Mark, the eventual storyline that they're building up, and I don't necessarily like this storyline. We talked about this in the past with Flair versus his son. Of course, David, not a great wrestler. They have a lot of high expectations for Dominic. I think father and son are going to go against each other. What do you think about that possible storyline percolating? Leo word, if you will.
Well, I thought that was going to go when Buddy Murphy was in this mix, stayed in the sister. I thought that was going to take place where we'd see Dominic and Ray go at it, but we did. It was held back, and maybe this is inevitable, just like RK Bro breaking up after they lose the tag titles to the Usos, so they'll be unified. And the Street Profits, they're another one trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to figure it out there, and I felt like RK Bro was going to go against each other eventually, Randy Orton. But you go back to Cody. To me, I think they're building him up as they should, because he's not going to go from AEW, lose creative, and then go to WWE and be a mid-card again. And I think that's what a lot of people were worried about, Mark, is with Rhodes going over there, was he going to be just a mid-card talent? People remember him as Dashing and Stardust, which are terrible gimmicks. He's got to be the guy. If you're going over from AEW, you have to push him to the moon. And my problem is, I don't think there's anybody getting over on a Roman Reigns. I don't know how you book it.
No, nobody's getting off of him. You might take one of the belts from him, for a little bit of, time frame. But the guy that's going to be up there getting a nice push, and he's going to hold the belt for a while, and you knew it was going to be taken off of the other guy, Finn Balor. His Theory's going to get a push now.
Horrible.
He's going to hold the belt for a while. I don't think anybody's going to take the belt from him till maybe towards the end of the summer.
What do you think about the name changes? Because he's no longer Alston theory. He's this theory. You put him over. I get what you're trying to do, make him a next superstar, but it's at the expense of Finn Balor, who to me is one of the most underappreciated wrestlers in all of wrestling. And once again, I will say this. You look at what CM Punk is doing right now. You look at what Adam Cole is doing for AEW. If Finn Balor goes to AEW, I'm telling you right now, he's a superstar. He is so underappreciated and so underused by WWE. Your thoughts?
Well, you're definitely right, but I think Finn Balor might get into that, that I call it the Gangrel stable of Edge and Damian Priest. I think that's where Finn Balor's headed, and I also think that's where Rhea Ripley's headed. So that's going to be an interesting stable to build. They'll run that. They'll try to build it like the Shield and Nexus and some of them big factions. With Edge running it and being the head, rated R superstar there, that's going to be an interesting one. But I'm telling you right now, I think Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley will be added to that here in the next coming weeks.
And to me, that doesn't make any sense because Balor is already over with the crowd. He's already a main event guy. To me, it just goes back to what we've always heard here in the last 5 years. And we're on with former XPW announcer Mark Mancini, Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Vince does not like smaller guys. Is that what you get out of this? Is that the reason why a guy like an Adam Cole had to go to AEW and a guy like eventually Finn Balor will have to leave WWE and go to AEW because smaller guys just don't get over in Vince's head?
Well, smaller guys don't get over. You're absolutely right, but you got to have something. You got to have some kind of strength to sell yourself. Maybe you got to have great mic skills and stuff like that. I mean, maybe you got to, get the wrestling defined to the point where you can kind of, have an advantage over these guys. Even look at some of the big guys. We can go back to the Akeems, Earthquakes. We see the Omases today. If you like big guys, these big guys were there, today and gone tomorrow. They were just like squashed after that. Remember the days when we saw Earthquake come out of the crowd and fight, I think it was Hulk Hogan.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, again, and I remember Yokozuna and, of course, Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart and all that. But to me, Finn Balor, that's another wrestler that his character has been squashed. You built him up in NXT. What do you make of NXT?
Well, I think that's where the breeding ground is. And, if they do their homework right, Vince is going to try to pick their talent up and stuff. But, you hear rumors circulating, is the WWE up for sale? Will they sell it? With the whole Triple H thing not being able to wrestle anymore, what do they do with this thing? I mean, I just don't understand the way Vince runs stuff. And we've said this before on these shows, that you got to have key people running the shows. What makes a good business is accountability, communication, encouragement, listening, preparation. I think the WWE is lacking in some of those.
I think so too. I definitely think so. Now we talked about the name changes here. You've got, I guess, well, not only that, but it's Elias. Now he's Ezekiel, and he shaved his beard and his mustache, and they have a totally. I mean, what do you make of this? What are they trying to do with him and KO? I mean, I don't get Elias at all. I think Elias, they could push him all day long, but I don't know where they're pushing him to. To me, he just comes off as a mid card. He's got a singing gimmick. It seems like he's over, but they don't know what to do with him. So why?
Well, the great thing about Elias, he's from Pittsburgh, where Shane Douglas is, Kurt Angle, some of those great guys like me, but the whole gimmick, I mean, if they were trying to make him the honky-tonk man by breaking guitars, I mean, the gimmick went. They don't let these gimmicks play themselves out. I mean,
well, it's Jeff Jarrett all over again. I mean, that's what it is to me, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff
Jarrett was another one. Double J, Jeff Jarrett. You're right.
Right. I mean, I don't really know what they're trying to do again with the name changes. With that being,
look at the women. Do you know what they're even doing with the women? I mean,
yes,
we were thinking Belair was going to turn bad, and we were all waiting for that gimmick. And the only one right now is Rhea Ripley, and you can't trust Sasha Banks. She's going to turn here eventually. So, I mean, the whole 9 yards are, what's going on with the women's division?
What did you think of that 24/7 segment? I mean, to me, it's kind of a joke. You're doing this wedding. There's never a good wedding in WWE. I mean, the one I always think about is where I believe Alita is trying to marry Edge. And, of course,
Yeah.
Kane goes out and the guy goes, Jesus, it was just the funniest thing. But the main
What was the other one? Wasn't Elizabeth Mary?
Well,
Elizabeth
yes.
Yeah, Elizabeth was one too. Remember that one?
With Macho Man, and at the end of it, Jake the Snake Roberts with the snake, and I think Undertaker saves. Those never work out, but the one you always remember, and it's probably one of the greatest storylines of all time, in my opinion, has to be Test and Stephanie. And then they show a video of, and I don't think this could work these days. I just don't think it could work with their PC society the way WWE is, where Triple H shows her in the car. She's clearly out of it. He marries her, and then that starts the whole Stephanie Triple H,
Right. Well, I'll tell you the ones with not only the weddings, and one of the best ones in where he was chasing, his wife had to be the Rick Rude, Jake the Snake one, man. That was absolutely unbelievable. Do you remember those?
Yes, absolutely. You always remember those and those characters, especially Jake the Snake. And I feel sorry for him because we were talking about this last week. I mean, he was trying to get over. He was almost main event status. And then, either the Ultimate Warrior screws him over or Hulk Hogan. Feel bad for him. And then, of course, his own demons himself came back to haunt him. Let's go watch a Roger Shue, Adam Cole, Bay. I love HBK. I mean, great memory of HBK.
Yeah.
Does it always go back to the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania? Look, he was gone there for some years. He comes back in 2002. They brand him as NWO. That didn't work out. But his matches with Triple H, his first match with Triple H was amazing. And this was a guy at the time that was coming off severe back problems. I believe he was out for 4 years. Yeah. And then the matches with Undertaker really solidified him. And then also Jericho. Yeah.
The WrestleMania one with The Undertaker was absolutely terrific. And then I think it was the next year. That's when Triple H went against The Undertaker, which was another good one.
Right. Both of those guys, Shawn Michaels took on Undertaker 2 years in a row. And then Triple H took on Undertaker 2 years in a row. And then after that, that was an end of an era. Go ahead.
And then Brock Lesnar was the guy to snap the big streak for The Undertaker.
What did you think of that?
I thought one of these guys were going to snap it. I really didn't think the Brock Lesnar was going to be the guy that did it. It just didn't seem right. I think, if somebody was going to break it, it should have been Shawn Michaels or Triple H, but I didn't get it. Did you?
To me, I don't agree. I don't like Triple H or Shawn Michaels breaking it. I like the passing of the torch, and I always go back to WrestleMania 3, right? And there was a question whether Andre was going to pass the torch. Hogan always talks about this, and the reason why you pass the torch at the time is because Hogan is the next big thing. I didn't understand Brock. I didn't get it. I thought you could have done it with Bray Wyatt. There was even talk of a Randy Orton. Randy Orton, to me, makes sense. If you're trying to build him up, and look, he's had an unbelievable career, more than likely a Hall of Famer. But if you're trying to build Orton up as the legend killer, what better way to do that than to kill the legend of the Undertaker?
Yeah, well, what match would be a good one here? I know you won't probably see it, but the Undertaker against the Tribal Chief, that would be one hell of a match.
Well, you've seen that already.
Yeah.
And Roman Reigns went over on him.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. Like, you put Roman all over him, and remember, Roman goes, "This is my yard," because Undertaker at the time was saying, "I'm a dog. This is my yard."
Yeah.
Over, and then he really didn't do anything after that. I mean, Roman
that was the thing. But I like that type of a match again now, years later, to get that kind of match going. I mean, we saw the whole AJ Styles and Undertaker outside in the grave site.
Great match.
Yeah, that was another good one, and the Undertaker's been absolutely terrific on them. And, that's what you need to do, is bring these guys back, see if they can go 1 year. Even Shane McMahon. I mean, a lot of people think this guy can wrestle. Shane went off the top of that thing and crashed into the tables and taken out the Undertaker, I believe it was.
Unbelievable spots. Also with Kurt Angle, we're on with Mark Mancini here, the Madman, former XPW announcer, Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu. The best wrestler was Nunzio, FBI.
He's
You
watching some
remember him?
ECW, baby. Little
ECW?
Guido.
Remember him, Little Guido?
Yeah.
Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, Nunzio and Little Guido out there. ECW, man. I'll tell you, you remember the big bash we had with these guys when they came out and tried to invade California.
Yes.
That was amazing back in the day. But, gosh, I wish that thing still went on. You know, you had Rob Black running our thing. You had Paul Heyman running ECW. Can you imagine how big that would have been like 20-something years later?
Well, the problem was Heyman wanted to run all of it, I guess, and Rob Black was under the impression that he was going to be, included in. And then, of course, he went on his own by doing his California thing with XPW. Let's go out to Troy Polamayu. WrestleMania 19 was the best. You agree with that? WrestleMania 19?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best WrestleManias out there. I definitely remember that one.
I think WrestleMania 3, the Pontiac Silverdome, was another good one.
That's the first one I watched. That's the one I always remember. We'll never forget. We're on with, again, Mark Mancini, XPW announcer. What are your thoughts on, this was talked about, Jon Moxley. Has he gotten over in AEW? Has he done enough, or could you see him getting back into WWE eventually, much like a Cody Rhodes did?
Well, if he does come back in WWE, I got one of his T-shirts, the Ambrose Asylum. So, yeah, definitely. We need to find a spot to get him back. I mean, I miss him in WWE. He was crazy, deranged and everything. And, I'm trying to think of that, the lady he married. She was the
Renee Young.
Yeah.
Renee Young, yes. I believe her name is Renee Paquette.
Yeah, and then she kind of packed it up and moved on too with him. But boy, I'll tell you, some of the best couples, CM Punk and AJ.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Oh man, you can go down the list of these.
Speaking of CM Punk, what do you think of his impact in AEW? Is he must see TV? I mean, he's fighting.
I do. I like him. I mean, I really do. I think, the whole thing that soured him in the WWE was, we remember it was he was sick and tired of these part-time wrestlers coming in and getting belts and stuff. So he figured, he was going to move on. And, he's been kind of looked at in some ways like the whole Stone Cold thing. You got to try to beg him to come back. Every time we think he's coming back with him and that, WWE goes to Chicago, the chants come up for CM Punk, but eventually, I think they're going to have to make amends and bring him back, man. We miss him.
Well, and I think right now what he's done with AEW has been amazing, and that's the reason why AEW is thriving. What else? You hear that Ring of Honor, of course, Tony Khan bought this about a month ago. They could possibly have a new TV deal, and also New Japan Professional Wrestling getting together here. Just some things that are being talked about. So what do you think of these, inter promotions? WWE is not, of course, going to do it, but AEW is doing it. So once again, a really exciting time in wrestling.
Well, the big thing is if you my dad always used to say, son, nobody really cares what you know till they know how much you care. If your product's good, if you can present it right, if you can get some interest from some nice sponsors and everything, foreign money, out there, a lot of good foreign money, American money. You get backing on this thing. You could take this thing and compete with WWE. Look at, the USFL now. They're on like 3-4 networks now. The XFL is taking notes. Who knows? We're not saying you're going to take the NFL down overnight, but little by little, if you do it right, you build a product, people buy into it. Look at NASCAR.
Well, are you interested in the USFL? Because you looked at the first night, it was a resounding success.
I love it, man. My hometown team's in there, the Pittsburgh Maulers. I thought of you. I thought of Leo. I said,
yeah, you lost. And I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah, I know we lost 17-3.
You
I know
deserve to lose because of your coaching decision there. United in Football, there was a reality show, previewing or taking you behind the scenes for the USFL. And your coach caught a player because he didn't want chicken salad. Now, I don't eat chicken salad, okay? I don't eat a chicken salad sandwich, so I'd be the same way.
I didn't understand him. Maybe the Promoties didn't come down from Pittsburgh yet. Who knows? The only bad thing about this league is everybody's playing in Alabama, and let's get this thing in their same cities. Let's get the faithful of the Steel Town behind them, waving the terrible towels. This is what I need. Maybe we'll get back in that. there's not enough Pittsburgh people down there in Alabama. They don't know what's going on down there. We got to send busloads down there to Alabama.
All right, I got to read this to you, and I agree with you. I think you've got to put it in the home stadiums, but the reason why you're doing it in Alabama is to save money. We'll see if it works out, but this was revealed on the clip. Devontae Smith, a running back for the Tampa Bay Vipers, of course, locally here, and the Orlando Apollos. He wanted pizza over chicken salad. He asked a hotel worker in Birmingham, Alabama, where all the games are played, if they had pizza instead of chicken salad. When Smith was asked if it would be a problem if that wasn't possible, he claimed he only said yes before walking away. Wilson, the coach, says, I've set my standards that we go by as a football team. Those standards weren't met. That individual knew we had a prior agreement that led to a later misunderstanding. One of those incidents was brought to my attention, and I addressed it immediately. These are life lessons. They have nothing to do with football. You're trying to teach people how to respect other people, no matter how you see or view them. He had immediately reached back out, apologized, committed to trying to be a better man, a better person from the incident, but we have already moved on. It was very unfortunate. He went out as a one-sided story, but I've been in this business too long. We had very, very high standard of football. It wasn't meant when we had a player that steps out of line with what he believes in as a staff. It must be dealt with. I didn't think twice about it. Of course, they tweeted out that not only he violated that rule, but 2 other rules in the 24-hour period. Smith had this to tweet out: show me the 3-team rules I broke, please. Now, if I send these screenshots from our exact combo, who's the one lying? In another tweet, Smith wrote, I was never made aware that I violated any team rules, let alone 3 in a 24-hour span. I never disrespected anyone. Coach Kirby and I spoke after being released in that talk. He said that he certainly would vouch for my character. I mean, this is a little bit ridiculous and just bad publicity for a league that's trying to get off the ground.
The big problem is he should have got an Uber. Pittsburgh should have paid for it, went to Domino's, got some pizza. Now these 2 idiots are going to square off on the Maury Povich show.
Well, the Maury Povich show, by the way, I believe has been canceled, Mark. But that would be a dream scenario at this point.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. They'll bring it back just for these 2 guys.
Look, I don't know what happened, but you're saying you didn't have any footage of those violations being taped at the time, being videoed. You don't have
salad. You got to eat for like 8 weeks down in
I'm
Alabama.
not eating chicken salad. I'm going to eat a pizza.
Yeah.
What's the big damn deal? I don't understand it. All right, let's go on to Leo Haggerty here. Missed the days of Bobo Brazil, Ernie Ladd, and Gorilla Monsoon. Of course, people would know Monsoon as being the announcer, but he was a heck of a wrestler. And of course, Leo likes the big guys. Any fond memories of those wrestlers that he
Well, I'm about ready to lay the caskets out. Let's get you in this thing. Bring Leo. I'll throw my 2 cents in. I'm going to body slam Troy Polamalu in the Atlantic.
Well, I'll tell you right now, and Troy's been good with this segment. I like this. Bring back The Undertaker, Big Evil, riding on a chopper. You saw the Hall of Fame speech. It was amazing, 15 minutes, and he said, never say never. Could you see The Undertaker coming back, or do you think he should just stay retired? Because
I think it's Hollywood, man, next year. Come on, man. You got to bring him back. Come in on the chopper, ride the 405, the 101, whatever you need to do. Come from the airport, come down Manchester, hang it right in the SoFi Stadium. Hell, jump on the stop of the SoFi Stadium, land on a plane, and take that thing down. Who knows, man?
Well, I tell you right now, the big match next year I'm looking forward to is going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns, and I think they put The Rock over, but we'll have more to talk about. Your final thoughts, in fact, your biggest draft surprise. I know we're gonna have you on next Wednesday, but what do you think the biggest draft surprise next Thursday night is going to be?
Well, I'm going to call it. I said it earlier. I think Atlanta will get London. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see, people moving, a lot of shaking going on. But I think the Steelers they're going to either get Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Steelers are smart. They're going to get the 49ers or the Browns to pick up half the salary. So,
well,
I can definitely see one of those guys starting in Pittsburgh next year, along with Mitch Trubisky backing them up.
I'll tell you right now, San Francisco, if they lose a Deebo Samuel, that is a major, major loss. I mean, how surprised are you with these wide receivers and how much money they're making? Inflation is a beautiful thing, right, Mark?
Well, that's it. And, look at Aaron Rodgers. He was looking out for his buddy Devontae Adams so much after he signed a $200 million.
Come on! He was not looking out for his buddy.
Yeah, he should have been looking out for him.
Yes.
To put that in the contract.
Yes,
But
he should have been taking less money like other quarterbacks.
Yeah, he was greedy. He took everything.
Yes.
He let his buddy go back to Vegas. They franchised him, let him go to Vegas.
Yeah.
And now I will tell you this: DK Metcalf could be going to Green Bay. It's going to be interesting on that one.
I've heard this, and I cannot imagine Seattle trading that player for. They have to at least get 2 first-round picks, don't you, for DK?
Well, they're going to have to get something, but there's a fire sale, man. The only great thing in Seattle this year is going to be watching them Seattle Seagulls on the sidelines.
All right. With that being said, go ahead and promote yourself, Madman Mark Mancini.
Hey, tomorrow we're back in Philadelphia. Marianne Sell and myself, David Finoli, an author of 32 books on Pittsburgh sports, will be in there. Former Major League Baseball player Scott Van Slyke, Andy Van Slyke's son.
Wow.
And then Friday, doing my Pittsburgh Pirate podcast, first base coach Tarek Brock of the Pittsburgh Pirates, live from Chicago's Wrigley Field there. Man, I hope they wake up tomorrow. They've lost 3 in a row to the Brew Crew. They're 5-7, baby.
Is it too early to panic, Mr. Mancini?
No, we don't panic in Pittsburgh. We put our big boy pants on. We're ready to rock and roll. Man, we're steel mill guys, man. We'll keep it going. I remember. I know we play Tampa this year, man.
Yeah, you guys are going to lose. I'm sorry. It's not the Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla, Jay Bell, Andy Van Slyke, Doug Trabeck. Come on, man. I know your team better than you do.
Yeah, you do.
I grew up as a Cubs fan, and the Pirates always made the Cubs very miserable, but it seems like right now the Pirates are going through their own misery. I tell you right now, it was not miserable to have the madman himself.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mark Mancini, former XPW announcer, XM Sirius Radio. Thanks a lot.
I love you, brother. And I'll tell you, the only good thing in Chicago is the people and the food, man. The weather is terrible.
That's why I love living here in Florida. Good stuff, Mark. Thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate you here on that.
I can't wait to get back next week and empty some more caskets, brother, on draft days.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. The night before the draft, Mark Mancini, the madman. Thanks a lot for your time. All right, boss?
I love you, brother. Thanks.
Love you, brother. Good stuff there. Good stuff from Mr. Mark Mancini. So let's go ahead and end the show off on that. Thanks a lot to Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, Will Lewis, Leo Haggerty, Jay Rubin, and of course, the madman himself, Mark Mancini. We'll be back soon here tomorrow night covering your Tampa Bay Lightning, and then before then covering USF. Keep it locked here. 3 things on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, go like I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time, and it's your time. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Yeah, but there are no guarantees on any of these players. There's no guarantee that, it's a 50%, so there's no guarantee. You want to make sure that that you're doing all the work that you can. I love information at this point, managing risk. I think you and I have talked about that in the past, and bringing in a player that you have as much confidence as possible in. So there's no guarantee that a player is going to come in and be